this is Catherine from Accelerated Reader, reading books for you. Today, I will be reading A Little Twirly Story of Candy by Debra A. Harkins with Thanh, Huynh, illustrated by Sergio Drumond. Before I begin reading, I would like to give a big thanks to the authors and Purple Owl Publishing for sending me this book to read on my channel. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Dedicated to my little sister Marcia, who always knew that love, laughter, family, tea, and a Clark bar were life's sweetest treasures. Acknowledgements. Our thanks to the many, many candy makers, candy companies, and candy stores that make our world a little sweeter. To our illustrator, Sergio Drumond, for his amazing illustrations, setting the book up, and his endless patience with our edits. Debra would like to give shout out to Thanh, who brought lots of sass, even though, for shame, she's not a candy lover. To members of the candy team who helped compile candy information, including Jeff Numero and Portia Alexander Ross. To my family and friends who did the obligatory oohs and ahs when reading drafts of this book. And finally to my husband, Bill Ballint, for his edits after reading multiple versions of this book many, many times. A Little Twirly Story of Candy. Introduction. Sometimes I think that the one thing I love most about being an adult is the right to buy candy whenever and wherever I want. Ryan Gosling. We started this candy journey with a simple question. Where is the birthplace of candy in the United States? Much to our surprise, we were unable to find an answer. As we traveled down Candy Lane, seemingly simple questions led to mystery, intrigue, and drama. When did chocolate become a candy? Who made the first lollipop in the U.S.? How and when did sugar become so villainized? Each time we thought we had found the answers, contradictory accounts surfaced from a Pandora's box of candy folklore. Before long, we were so overwhelmed with stories that we were unable to distinguish candy fact from candy fiction. The further we dug for answers, the more questions emerged. What is candy? Is chocolate candy? Is candy when you add sugar to something? Is candy when you boil sugar? Why are cakes not candy? What's the difference between desserts, sweets, and candy? Why is this so confusing? We thus tell the twisting, twirling, and tasty story of candy, hoping that future confectionery detectives will be spared timeless months of candy research. Our story features candy innovators as creative as Disney, candy makers as unusual and interesting as any Willy Wonka character, candy naming as frivolous as designer baby clothes, candy tales as ironic as that of dynamite inventor Alfred Nobel, winner of the 1930 Nobel Peace Prize, candy feuds as scandalous as Watergate, and candy takeovers as dramatic and gripping as Hunger Games. This little story begins by defining what is candy, exploring the ancient past. Okay, maybe not ancient, but 17th century ancient, of sweet delectables and delving into the good, the bad, and the sweet, within the candy world from the cane fields to the candy store. Our second chapter explores the birthplace of candy in the U.S., leading us through more twists and turns within the world of candy. Next, we examine the bitter passages of chocolates, liquid beginnings to present-day cocoa controversies. We slap our way through the history of lollipops in our 4th chapter. You'll see what we mean later. Our chewy 5th chapter explores the not-so-edible but delicious story of gums, and no, we don't mean the gum in your teeth. And it's run in with trees, chalk, oil, petroleum, and so forth. You know, you're curious. We end with the lessons learned on the joys and horrors that make candy's history all the more bitter, sweet, and tasty. Each chapter includes pictures, trivia, recipes, and maps. As we wrote this book, we shook our heads and laughed a lot. We wondered and were amazed at the hype, folklore, and deep love and passion of confectioneers. And of course, we had to stop many times to get something sweet to eat. Grab a few, cough, dozens, sweets, and join us as we tell a little twirly story of candy. Chapter 1. Opening Pandora's Sweet Box. I went to the bank and asked to borrow a cup of money. They said, "What for?" I said, "I'm going to buy some sugar." Comedian Steve Wright. What is candy or kandi or kanda? The word candy stems from the Indian Sanskrit kanda, meaning piece of sugar, and Arabic kandi, meaning sugared. Did you know that people from India were the first to begin sucking the sweet juice from the tall, thick grass they're called sugarcane? The definition of candy. Using 4 common sources below, candy is often defined as something with sugar, either as the main ingredient or combined with, well, something. Of course, we are already getting ourselves in trouble here, given that sugar is not the main ingredient in candied fruit slices, nor is sugar the main ingredient in chocolate. And don't even get us started on gum. Encyclopedia Britannica cleared the mystery up a bit for us when it states that the term candy means something different in other countries, with chocolate considered candy in the US, but not elsewhere. Interestingly, other countries separate their confections into chocolate confections, sugar-based confections, and starch-based confections. Since we, US Americans, love our chocolate so much, we'll include it in our candy story. Of course, 2 paragraphs later, Encyclopedia Britannica confuses us again when they argue, similar to Wikipedia, that sugar is the main ingredient in candy. Huh? Oh wait, they say sugar is the main ingredient for most candy. Okay, so chocolate, candied fruit, and gum is not most candy, or are they? Are you spinning yet? We are, and to really get your head really twirling, candy can still be candy when not made with white table sugar, aka sucrose. Candy can be made with any sweetener like honey, molasses, maple syrup, corn syrup, or even artificial sweeteners. Heck, it was only in this millennium that candy was made with actual sugar. So, where does that leave us with our original question? What is candy? Well, we know it's sweet, and candy does not need sugar as a main ingredient, since candy can be made with honey and other sweeteners. Pastries don't count because, well, pastries have more flour than sugar, and we, US Americans, like our candy sweet. And chocolate is sweet. At least milk chocolate is. So chocolate is candy. So, is candied fruit candy? If we use Wikipedia's definition, where candy is mainly sugar, candied fruit does not count as candy because it has more fruit than sugar coating. However, fruits have natural sugars. When coated with more sugar, candied fruit ends up in the category of candy. Therefore, in this story, we welcome the candied fruit. Begin. Now, on to the question of gum. Chewing gum. Is gum candy? According to our 4 sources above, no. So why is it in this book, you ask? In an impromptu survey on Facebook by Candy.com, over 125,000 people were asked the same question. Is gum candy? The answer? Well, let's just say there was no consensus. Of the 86 answers we received, 23 said, yes, it's candy. 35 said, no, and the rest said, I don't know. How's that for mixed feelings? So, are we adding gum to this book? Yes. Why? Because, 1, there's no consensus of whether gum is candy or not. 2, if you walk into the candy aisle of any U.S. store, you will see gum. 3, it's our book and we want to. We started this little candy chapter with what we thought would be a simple question. What is candy? Oh, how foolish we were only just a couple of pages ago. At this point, we have a slightly more sophisticated understanding of candy. Yeah, we're still confused, but with more facts. Anyway, what's clear is that most candy is sweet. So, what makes candy sweet? We know this is a dumb question, but follow along with us. It will make slightly more sense as we get further along this twisty, twirly story. Sweetness comes from a variety of sources, including honey, which is considered an animal product. Weird, eh? Maple syrup, resin from maple trees, fruit. For example, dates, coconut, honeydew, and almost all fruit. Berries, starches, and most importantly, for our purposes, sugar. Sucrose, extracted from, get this, greens. Hey, it's time to let your family and friends know you do eat your greens. Yup, sugar comes from grass, sugarcane, trees, palm, birch, and maple, and plants, sugar beet and agave. You see, all plants have sucrose deep within them, but extracting the sucrose out of vegetation is extremely hard. Sugarcane and sugar beets have the highest amount of sucrose, making these 2 sugar sources the sweetest and most valuable. We'll talk more about where these 2 important sugars come from in our next chapter. Now, without further ado, let's introduce our candy family. First off is the hard candies we all know and love, at least those of us with teeth. Second are the chocolate triplets, dark, milk, and white. Story of Goldilocks and 3 Bears will help us here. Third off are the tongue-slappin' lollies, who slap in more ways than one. And last are the trees and fuel-stemmed chewing gum, which you'll probably spit out when you're done reading in more ways than one. For the sake of a sequel, we'll leave taffy, gummies, and all other sweets, or sours, warheads, for later. Note, 90% of those surveyed are from the US, making the survey only telling of what a small percentage of people who follow a Facebook candy page think about gum. Yes, kind of biased, but interesting nonetheless. Fruit drops. 1 pound white sugar, 4 ounces powdered glucose, 6 ounces of water, 1 teaspoon cream of tartar, a few drops of fruit extract, essence, or flavoring oil. Try pear, strawberry, peach, apricot, orange, lemon, blackcurrant, mango, etc. Icing sugar, confectioner's sugar for dusting. Directions. 1. In medium saucepan, stir sugar, glucose, and water together. Cook stirring over medium heat until sugar dissolves. Cover, then bring to a boil. Without stirring, heat to 300 to 310 degrees or until a small amount of syrup dropped into cold water forms hard, brittle threads. 2. Add cream of tartar and fruit extract. Mix through quickly. 3. Pour the candy syrup into pan and leave until candy is cool enough to touch. Use scissors and cut small pieces and shape into small balls. 4. Coat with confectionery sugar. Store in airtight container. Candy word scramble. Feel free to pause this video so that you may complete this activity. Here is the answer key to Chapter 1, Candy Word Scramble. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book. Stay tuned next week for Chapter 2.